Hello.
Hey, how you going?
Good. I didn't give you any money. And even time. Were you going to Innisfail?
We said whoever gets up first.
Ellen's mom comes to us, she gave us half a birthday. Actually, an eighth of a birthday.
Wait till Mum can order some coffees and then we'll get you sushi and come back.
I didn't even spell it right.
see what's up this end.
Where are you, Michelle?
Down in the kids area.
Okay, so there is a kids area, right?
Not
Yeah, well, all you gotta do is
Peter? Yeah.
Never had one.
She's
Might
right.
have been a different one. Was that something else that she was selling? Some kind of
Generally, unknown to the
yeah, maybe.
I believe that they put in 50 meters to limit. And then when they started, they went and select only the best, cut the rest out, and they
Oh, a certificate of what?
but because I just used to find breakers. know what I mean? It's not like if it's deep, take it away.
Good morning. Oh.
I don't know whether there's a horse radish type I've got bitter melons growing in the farms right near me, haven't they? What are they?
Oh.
I'm going to take one home for a second.
Let's see if it's done them well.
Not $8. Yeah, thank you very much.
$30.
Sounds good.
There you go. Yeah. Hopefully the rain holds off.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
It's not too bad at the moment.
Yeah. So a little bit of blue sky just before that.
Yeah. I'm watching the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my pasta too.
So what is all this?
Flavour stuff. Herbs, spices,
Cool.
chocolate powders, salts, dessert sauces, dessert toppings, olive oils, balsamic vinegars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Lots of yummy stuff.
Yeah. Have you got a card or something I can show on my YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, you get free advertising out of it. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. You're good.
They're all the same.
Oh, okay. I need one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks. Good morning.
No, because then they can't see it as they
Yeah, $5. Huh?
I want to find where
Huh? Vale.
Here. Well, see, this one has most of the
I'm sorry that I go there every Friday.
Right.
Feel like a pilot.
Yeah. Takeoff, ready for takeoff. So I guess we just get straight into it, do we? We're going to introduce ourselves.
Alrighty, thanks everyone for coming along today. Feast of the Senses. It's always a rainy experience, I think. It's not Feast of the Senses without a bit of rain.
Oh, last year was pretty hot and dry. I think.
That's true.
This is good. Feel it.
Keeps it nice and cool. So Gareth and I are launching a podcast called What the Actual Fruit. And we thought, you know, what better place to get some guests than Feast of the Senses, the home of the exotic fruit of Australia.
And North Queensland, obviously, where we're growing all these amazing things. And yeah, this has been a bit of an idea in the pipeline for a little bit, to just try and get some stuff documented and meet the people who are growing things. Obviously, Peter here is a bit of a legend in the exotic rare fruit growing world. Well, everyone kind of knows Fruit Forest Farm.
An amazing storyteller, so we're very excited that we can get some stories from you today.
And we'll be launching a podcast in the imminent future at some point. We just want to get a few episodes recorded.
Yep, with the focus on, I guess, fruit, the growers, the collectors, and also the history. There's some amazing history out there. You know, I think Peter's mentioned before about the mutinies of breadfruit and the origins of macadamia nuts and who's growing them and who's the biggest grower now. There's amazing stuff there. Before we get too deep in here, I think it's important to acknowledge that we are standing on Manu country, First Nations lands, and it's important to acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded with this land that we're, you know, growing and meeting on. Alrighty.
Well, to start off, we would just like to dive straight in, and we're just going to, it's a pretty easy one, we're just going to say to you, Peter, obviously, what was the actual fruit or fruits that began it all for you? Was there something that you can remember? Like particular one, or some fruits that you remember way back maybe when you were younger, that sparked your interest?
It goes back a fair way, really, Gareth, because I was a kid growing up on a cane farm in Midjanoo near Tully, and most backyards had different fruit trees which we thought were normal, like sour, sopping jackfruit and the like. But riding our push bikes home from school, we'd pick guavas growing wild on the trees, and we'd eat the ones that were ripe enough and throw the others at each other if they were hard. We called them pluckers. And that probably started the journey on fruit to a degree. But commercially, the journey really started for me. We had friends who worked for Mick and Jean Thompson up in Beauty Creek Road. They were South Africans who'd moved to Australia. And when I saw their orchard and what they were doing and how things were, I thought, this is what I want to do. This is my direction. I'm an electrician by trade, but didn't like crawling and sealing.
How old would you have been at that time, you reckon?
Probably late 20s, 27, 28.
Okay, yep. I guess that's probably similar for a lot of people. You know, growing up, you eat fruits in the family and growing a few things in the backyard. But then if you've already been doing that from a young age, then you had that interest already growing.
And possibly knowing what good fruit is, because we learned as kids to know when stuff tasted the best. And that's taken out of a lot of people's hands now because they don't grow their own, they get it in a shop, and a lot of stuff is picked $2 grand. But yeah, in the early days of the Rare Fruit, before it was Rare Fruits Australia, it was the Rare Fruit Council of Australia. It was a kick-off from Florida or California, and that started in Cairns many years ago. That was sort of when things like Warrina were a new fruit in those days. I'm talking the 80s sort of thing there.
And how would you say from those early days your journey has evolved, like over the years and until now and what it is now? As in, yeah, just from discovering a few things, thinking I might want to grow that, to obviously now being a commercial farm producing. It's been a big journey, I imagine.
Yeah, Gareth, it has been a big journey and a challenging one in some ways with, because both Alison and I grew up on cane farms, and when we started growing these weird fruits as tropical tree fruits, which I had a vision to do, and I knew that there were fairly good market potentials for some of the things like rambutans and the like. But a lot of people said we were mad and we're crazy. In our area you grow cane, bananas or cattle. You don't diverse from that. But I've learnt now over the time, if people say you're mad, you're possibly on the right track because you're breaking the new ground to a degree. But it's been a really good journey, and there's still enormous potential for people to get it right. It's just growing. And yeah, I'm glad I went down the path for sure.
Yeah.
There's some cyclones our biggest threat here probably, and some of you might remember papaya fruit fly in, I think it was 95, 96 or something, where we were quarantined and couldn't send fruit out. So there's been a couple of challenges, but probably cyclones are the biggest challenge still for commercial growers.
So I don't think we've actually mentioned the farm that we're, 43 years of running a exotic fruit farm. Fruit Forest Farm is a legendary farm for producing these unique fruits that a lot of people wouldn't even name, recognise or know these flavours. You were talking about being mad. What is the maddest, craziest thing you have done for fruit over your journey?
With fruit? Or?
With fruit. What have you done?
Oh, wow.
We want to get down to the juicy stuff.
Yeah, it's probably, we're going to talk about a fruit, one of my special fruits later on, but probably one of the craziest things in 1985 was the early days. We were only 2 years into the farm, and I did some figures on Salac palm fruit, and I worked out you could make $200,000 per acre per year, and I thought that's pretty good numbers. So I went to Bali and collected between Salac and Sepand. I collected about 40 kilos of seed, Salac seed, and in those days they didn't weigh all the luggage, so I'm trying to walk out not looking lopsided with a massively heavy suitcase full of Salac seeds, which we struck and that, but yeah, getting new stuff in can be a bit challenging through quarantine, particularly with the biosecurity people. We as growers know the value of those few little seeds that might come in, because then they're an asset to Australia if we get them through. And you get quarantine officials who just don't know their job really and don't know the laws, and they can take them away from you, and that's sort of challenging. But when you do get them through, it's a great satisfaction, and when you see those fruits come into fruition years later, it's good.
And obviously you did just mention the Salac, and we have asked you previously to this, a few days before or whatnot, if you'd be able to bring in some fruit, a little bit of fruit, and maybe even have a small taste for a few people here. And so, if you can, would you be able to grab those down there? And for people who don't know, the Salac has a common name, snake fruit, because the skin looks like a snake, has little scales all over it. And this is the Thai Salac, am I right, Peter?
Yeah, these are all different strains of Thai Salac.
So I believe it's Salaca Malaysiana.
Yeah.
And the Indonesian is Salaca Zalaka, is that right? Or there's a couple?
Yeah, there's a couple of different, there's a fair few species of Salac, but these are main fruiting type.
Occasionally, but the more ripe obviously the more sweeter. And then there's some Indonesian ones which are super sweet as well. And I've got a couple of those growing, but they're still small palms, so I'll have to wait a few years, but we'll see how they go in the future.
You've done a great job with that, Gareth, getting those Philippa seeds in, which means sugar basically, so they're really sweet.
That's right, yeah.
And it's people like yourself who build the industry and get them in. So we don't know how well they're going to grow here, but they should grow well. It's just a case of cracking the code with a lot of these things till we get it right.
Yeah. Should I say if anyone wants to come up and get one of the little fruits and they can have a peel, or you got a little box or something?
If there's a plate or something, we can put it on. I've got a knife here with cut pieces.
And then we can actually cut a little bit of this, and you can come and have a little taste of this one if you want.
Amazing, Peter. You came prepared. We didn't come prepared. You're always prepared, I'm presuming.
Always has a knife in the pocket.
I was a Boy Scout, be prepared, was their motto, yeah. So the skin peels off pretty easily. And Are we talking about these a bit in more depth now?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah.
Bring it on, Peter.
Why I chose salac as a fruit, like, you could recommend people plant a lychee tree in their backyard today, and the chances of you actually getting your lychees are very slim compared to what they probably used to be, because everything eats lychees. And you've got to worry about the tree getting too big. But the salacs being prickly, and they are very, very prickly.
So for someone,
the inside.
for someone who hasn't seen the plant, it is, I guess it looks like a palm, a very spiky palm.
A clumping palm, so it doesn't have one single trunk that goes up. It just grows from the base, and it's clumping big spikes on it. And you've got to be careful when you're harvesting around the bottom of the palm. If you get one of those spikes, then it's not going to be too fun. And yeah, and they will grow out in clusters from the base, so a flower will come out and produce
I'll
a
put the seed
cluster
in
of
there
fruit.
if somebody might want to see.
So that's the cluster that kind of comes out.
Yeah, and that's a tiny one. Gareth and Jeremy saw it yesterday. There's like 10 or 15 kilo clusters of bunches of fruit. And they're very commercialised in Thailand. We haven't quite reached that stage here yet.
So what do you think the problem with getting it commercialised in Australia? What are the limitations at the moment?
Good question, Jeremy. It's basically, firstly, these are all seedlings that we've imported from Bangkok, so we've got to try and work out which ones are the best, because it depends on, these have male and female palms, so it depends what they've been pollinated with. But once you find a good one that produces well and it's got a good flavour, then you can start taking suckers off that and promote and propagating that way. But there's a ready-made market, like with Rare Fruit Field Day is a good example. We take fruit to them, and there's people, the last field day that I went to out at Copeland, the lady came up and she said, "We got these at home." She just zeroed in on this fruit because it was a traditional fruit for her. So we've got a very diverse demographic in Australia, and there's always going to be some people that know this from home.
I would imagine as well, commercial-wise, it's just going to take more farms to be growing them and more fruits to get out there. I've been to Indonesia a few times, Bali and stuff, and you do see these being sold in the markets commercially. Obviously the Indonesian ones are slightly different, small and round, and the cluster of the fruit is quite tightly bunched. But you do see them commercially sold in the Southeast Asian countries, at the markets.
Yeah, there's people in the cities looking for different things all the time. They've had enough apples and oranges and mangoes. But one thing I see, a little will say, "Oh, the agents ripped us off," or whatever. But often it's the integrity of the growers. They don't know the fruit well enough to pick it at the best flavour maturity. And having grown fruit for a long time, and when we were successful, we won the National Delicious Awards in 2021, I think, which is
So you're actually part of the electorate of the Borders in the Northern Territory. So Raymond's Hoe is closer to the major electoral office. Oh yeah. United. Bring through.
Hey, good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Hey, really going with party.
like I started feeling even worse.
Take it off, you can see the flame one more in his arms. They take all your birds out. Yeah. No, a lot of birds don't. Parrots don't either. Lazy, didn't they? They often get kills the worms. That's a vermifuge. Yeah. That's a good word for you? Yeah, vermifuge. Yeah.
Don't smell anything.
Hanging around like a fly.
See, I didn't want to do that. I didn't
Squeeze them out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just got a seed in.
Eat around it. Squeeze it into your
Yeah.
Oh.
Introduce you to this maybe beacon.
Oh, you had both?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, biggest favourite.
Hey, Mum. Mum.
Very round and you. Looks like a cajon. Chicken force. Is that alright?
Yeah.